Thank you, Christine. Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Denise, and I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Denise.
Hi. I have experience working these steps out of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous with the help of a Big Book step study sponsor, a very patient and loving higher power. I'm currently working on my living amends, and I'm willing to make any amends should they appear. I'm practicing steps 10, 11, and 12 on a daily basis, practicing all of these principles in all of my affairs. It's lovely to be here with all of you this morning. Yay! Right? Here we are. Yes. Yes. So this is my home group. I've been coming to this Saturday morning meeting. I'm just qualifying to tell you, I've been coming to this Saturday morning meeting for 22 years. I said that out loud to someone the other day, and I thought, can that be right? I haven't lived here for 22 years, have I? Well, yes, I have. Yeah. So I came to Worcester when I was 7 years sober, and I had been sponsoring myself for 4 years. I was completely out of my mind. So it says in here, solitary self-appraisal is insufficient. Let me tell you, I believed everything I thought. Yeah, and I went out in the world with that. And so I was 7 years sober away from a drink, but I was restless, irritable, and discontented. And I was so uncomfortable. And I could not think of anything more that would fix me. It says in here, we're very much the actor. We present his stage character. This is when he likes his fellows to see. But meanwhile, right, he's under constant fear and tension. That was me. That was me, leading the double life, right? So when I came to Worcester, I got sober in Brookline. I moved to South Boston at 4 years sober. They have awesome AA there. I did AWOLs. I did lots of work there. I met my husband there. We had a child, and we moved out here. So I came out here, and, stay-at-home mom. My oldest boy was almost 2 when we got here. I had a nice car in the driveway. I'm painting a picture so that you can see, my life was everything I had hoped and dreamt it would be. Everything, right? I had it, right? But I didn't have any recovery. And did not have any contented sobriety. I was miserable. So my husband, so smart, right? He looks in the meeting list and he sees a meeting on Saturday mornings, right? He worked during the week. He was like, you should try going to that meeting. Right? I mean, right? God works through people, right? So I came to the Saturday morning meeting. This is when we were over at St. Bernard's on Lincoln Street in the basement there. I sat in the same seat next to this same person every week. I never said a word. I left immediately after the meeting and was filled with resentment. Oh, don't these people know who I am? I come from Boston. There's great AA there. Right? What is that? Craziness, right? So I'll just tell you. I was attracted. What I heard here, I heard a solution. And I heard God. Week after week, I heard people talking about their recovery, that they had recovered from a hopeless state of mind and body. Nobody said, I'm no longer alcoholic. Nobody said that, but they had a solution. They had a solution to real life problems. You know what my problem is? I'm in here all the time, and I'm blaming all of you for that. Every week people are talking about, real life situations, how they talk to their bosses and straighten things out. And they didn't get fired. All right? They're talking about how they communicate with their spouses and they don't have arguments. I'm generalizing, friends. You get it, right? Okay, it's life on life's terms. It's not like, yeah. I still have life on life's terms, right? But okay, so getting to the fifth step. So I did not realize how impactful and how profound and how transformative the fifth step was going to be for me. I had no idea how important it was to share those things out loud. You know why? Because it releases them. There's a freedom that comes in that. You're giving it away, right? So I'm no longer holding on to it. I'm no longer letting it swim around in my head and tell me stories about, if people only knew you did this, they'd never like you. They'd kick you out. That's not true. That's not true. What I learned here is that we're all the same. We're all the same. We all did things that, were not who we really are. We all did things under the influence that, certainly there were things that I thought I would never share. And some of the things I thought I'd never share were things like, that I stole from petty cash at my employer's office. That was really humbling. I didn't want to tell anybody that I did that. I want you to think I'm so awesome. So I'm going to tell you about all the great things that I did, Leaving out some of the more vital or important aspects of my alcoholism or my, drinking history. So doing my fourth step took 2.5 years of mostly not writing. I don't recommend that. I recommend you get through it as soon as you can, because sitting in that was so uncomfortable for me, not my sponsor. I had a weekly check-in with my sponsor besides the weekly meeting I had with her to review my writing. I also had a weekly phone call with her. And I appreciate that, because consistency, I lacked discipline. I needed consistency, and I needed to build a trusting relationship, intimacy with another human being, right? And that's what she was offering me. And boy, did I resist that, friends. I'm like, I'm good. I don't need you to tell me anything. Meanwhile, if you tuned into my life, you'd be like, wow, she's really grumpy. She's yelling at everybody. Oh golly, it was just awful. So when I was mostly not writing, checking in with my sponsor and calling her and wanting to tell a story and complain about all of you, she'd say to me, she'd let me talk for, I'd say a good 5-10 minutes, and then she'd say, "Are you writing?" And I'd be like, oh my God. To myself, I'd be like, what does that have to do with anything? And I'd say, well, and I'd start, well. And she'd say, call me when you've written. Click. Now look, okay, right? So me, I'm like, I was highly offended. Well, I was brought up in AA. You never hang up on an alcoholic who's calling for help. I wasn't calling for help. I was calling to complain. That's not her job. It's not her job to listen to that nonsense. Blah, 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 blah. Right? That was not her job. Her job was to guide me to do this work. To show me, here is the solution, friends. It wasn't in every phone call that she listened. It wasn't that. It wasn't the things that she said to me. It was she kept pointing to the book. Go back to the book. Go back to the book. I thought, when I was thinking, driving over here, I'm like, what am I going to say about my experience with the person who helped me through this work? I'm going to say that she demonstrated what it's like to live a recovered life. And she had boundaries. And I was so unfamiliar with that, I bristled. I was like, what is happening? This isn't fair. In my head, right? But she'd say, have you done this? And I couldn't squirm out of the truth. It was a yes or no question. Either I'm doing the work or I'm not. Okay? That was me. Either I was doing it or I was not. So, when it came time to read my fifth step, she used to travel out of the country for work, and I called her up. I was thrilled. I'm like, oh, I'm done. Oh. And she said, great, I'm leaving for Sweden. I'll be gone for 3 months. And I'm like, Really? No. And she said, right from the book, she said, you can wait for me to get back, or you can find someone else to read it to. That's the truth, right? She wasn't saying, I don't like you. She wasn't saying, I'm not available for you. She was sticking to the truth and telling me what it says in the book. And I decided to wait for her. I felt comfortable with her. She'd already read all my stuff, and, we were building a relationship of sorts. It was the first time I had really practiced intimacy with someone, meaning I let them see what I had written, and now taking the next step. So I waited for her to get back. She lived in Boston, I live in Worcester. We met at the rest stop on the Mass Pike in Framingham, and I apologize to all of you who've heard this story a million times. So we met there in the food court. What? Why aren't we meeting at, the Cathedral of the Angels? And why aren't we because honestly, it doesn't matter where you read your fifth step. God's present. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. But I didn't know that at the time. I was all about ego, And it says in here we have to pocket our pride, right? So my higher power was like, oh, Denise, wait till you see what I have in store for you, friend. Just you wait. This is going to be awesome. And you know what? It was. So we sat down in the food court across from each other. In my mind, this is my memory, the room was full. There could have been 5 people there, but in my mind, the room is full. And she says, okay, let's hold hands and say the third step prayer. I'm like, oh no. Right? I mean, how arrogant am I? I'm like, no. She's like, okay, well, we'll say the third step. She was really loving, very loving, because it's my experience. It's mine. This is my fifth step. She was just there to bear witness, Wasn't about what she wanted or didn't want, And I've been able to do that for the folks that I work with. It's really up to you where you want to read your fifth step. I'm just there to listen, And I don't make it all about rules about what I think is best for anybody. It's what, you're ready to do. And I was just at the beginning of my journey at my fifth step. You know what I mean? I'd been sober a long time by that time, but I was just at the beginning. So, she said, okay, great, open your book and start reading. And I was like, open it right here? Right here? I don't know what I thought. There was going to be some secret side room we were going, open it right here? And she's like, yeah. She was very clear. I was the one who was confused. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm trying to get Lona, read her way down here, I'll tell you, in the first few minutes of reading, everything melted away. I didn't see or hear anybody else. Nothing. We continued to meet like that at that rest stop for a couple of months until then we moved up to the Natick Mall. So, and we had more privacy there at the food court there. And we finished my fifth step there. It was, the fifth step was very enlightening. I'll have to say, I felt very detached from my reading. I felt like I was reading a story about somebody else. I didn't have a tremendous amount of emotion or epiphanies. There were a couple of points where I thought I might cry, and I sucked those back in, and she's like, oh. She's like, you got a little emotional. It's really, that's what it's all about, right? Ending the isolation, right? I've been able to sit on the other side, and I've been the one to cry for people, because I hear myself in every fifth step I've heard, I hear myself over and over again. I hear the lengths I went to try to manage the world and try to gain control and try to make myself feel comfortable, just, ad nauseum, over and over again, doing the same things, expecting a different result, pounding my head against the wall, wanting it to be different, So, the actual reading itself, I have to say, for me, it didn't feel like anything happened during the actual reading, but it did. Even if I wasn't aware of it, there was a lot happening. Sitting across the table from my sponsor, she was very loving. She never judged anything I read to her. I felt completely safe. I felt completely at ease and welcomed by her. I wasn't scared at all about reading my fifth step, and so at the end of the fifth step, getting the direction to go home and sit quietly for an hour and read the first 5 proposals. So she said, let me be clear, your ride home to Worcester from here is not your hour with God. Right? I mean, she must have read my mind, right? I'll multitask, right? That's what I do. I like to do lots of things at the same time. No, so I get home, and at this point now I have 2 kids, because, let me distract myself and have another child while I'm not doing my writing. It seemed perfect to me, No, I love my son dearly. He was not a distraction. So when I get home, my family is, there, and so I just, I didn't even say hello. I remember I see myself right now just like coming in and running upstairs. Like I really wanted to get up there with God. We're in God's grace all the time. Like God was there no matter, So I go upstairs and I put all my notebooks down on the floor, and I sit crisscross and sit down to have my hour with God, and, read the first 5 proposals, and I was confident that in that moment, that in those, I'll have to admit, okay, so my hour with God only lasted 40 minutes. That was as long as I could sit still. So that's another indication of where I was at that time. I had a real difficulty sitting still. So 40 minutes. So in my 11th step, I know I'm jumping around, but in my 11th step today in my prayer meditation, I have my timer set for 20 minutes. That's 20 minutes that I owe God, and I've been giving that to God ever since. So, that's just a reminder of so we're square, right? Because today I can do that. I'm accountable and I'm responsible and I am disciplined, I mean, that's really what happened here. In the 5th step was I got to see my life run on self-will without God. That's what my 5th step, that's what my 4th step, and reading it out loud, that's what it showed me. I was running my life on self-will without God. And what happened over and over again? Nothing happened except I made a big mess. I was, a creator of confusion and disharmony everywhere. So, reading it and giving it away, now I'm to live differently. That's what it says, right? We're trying to live differently, So, the rest of the steps address all the proposals and how to live differently. I'll just say that, as much as I didn't think I needed to do any of this work, I am so grateful that I didn't listen to my mind. And that I did it anyway, and that, I've had the opportunity to listen to 5th steps, and it's such a gift. It's such a gift. So wherever you are in your recovery, I wish you that gift. That's it for me. Thank you.